If I've said it once, I've said it 1,000 times. Side decking is probably one of the most important things in this game, if not the most important thing in this game, because more games are won in games 2 and 3 with the side deck than not. What's going on, you guys? Slim here to bring you guys a new series here on this channel, a new monthly series that I hope to continue. This is going to be the ultimate side deck breakdown, the ultimate side deck tutorial, whatever you guys need, on what I feel are just the best possible side deck cards that you can put together for this current format of November 2020. If you guys are new here, consider subscribing, hit that notification bell. You guys will be notified whenever I upload. You'll also be notified when I stream over on Twitch. The links are in the description. If you want to purchase any of these cards I talk about, and there's a doozy of them, so definitely take notes. Please use my TCG player link. It's in the description below. A portion of what you spend goes back to the channel. It helps me out, and I really do appreciate it. And last but not least, if you want to further support the channel, consider joining my Patreon. 4 different tiers and nothing over $10. Just a lot of awesome stuff going on over there. But for today's video, you guys, it's all about the side deck. And let me tell you right now, we got a lot to cover. I'm going to try to keep it as concise as possible, and hopefully you guys do enjoy. You're used to the top 5s, you're used to the top 10s, you're used to all the guides on these are the 5 best cards of the side deck, these are the 10 best cards of the side deck. Nah, we took it a step further. I'm showing you everything. I'm showing you everything that I personally have in my arsenal to build a side deck from. Now, I know what you guys are thinking. You only get 15 cards, but this will give you all the options that you could possibly need. So I'm going to get into it. All I ask you guys is smash that like button. Let's get this video to 100 plus likes. The reason why I'm saying that, I really want to continue this series. The way I'll know that we'll continue this series as a monthly series here on the channel is if you guys destroy that like button and we just show that we really want to support this type of content. But without further ado, let's get into it. So the first cards I'm going to show are just what I call the Holy Trinity. Originally, I was going to make a video on this. I just decided not to, just because as funny as it was, some decks were omitting these cards. Like most decks were playing them, but then some were omitting them. So for that reason, I chose not to make the video. But I feel these are the new Trinity of the format. Now, obviously, the old school Trinity had to do with hand disruption and stuff like that. But to me, these are like the most side deck staple cards in the game, and that every side deck should have them. Pank is obviously just like the best card ever. This card is insane going second. You could just break boards. Takes out 2 cards for the price of 1. Card's also a 2600 beater. It's insane. Duster for all the back row. Red reboot for all the back row. Don't really need to say anything like that. This can be your Weeboo button. Like literally you activate this, attack per game, and they can't do anything about it. So I wanted to get these out of the way because they're in a class of their own as far as cards that you should definitely be side decking. Now we've got this thick thing of things called hand traps. Now here's the thing, I'm not a huge fan of side decking hand traps. You guys know this. I usually main deck a lot of them. So I'm going to talk about a couple of these cards really quick, and then we're going to talk about the ones that you probably can side deck. I do see people siding this. I feel it's main deck worthy in almost every deck this format. However, if it's not in your main deck, it probably should be in your side deck. This card is insane. It just catches every deck in the format. The only way to stop it is with Ash Blossom. I don't know what else to say. Same thing with Ash Blossom. Should be in your main deck. If it's not in your main deck, I guess it can be in your side deck. I'm not gonna lie, it feels so weird to side Ash. It's not really something I personally would do, but I have seen it, so for that reason you can do it. These are just like the most generic hand traps, along with Infinite and Permanent. Same thing. It's really weird to side these cards. I have sided Imperm in the past, and I have sided Gamma and Driver in the past. However, I feel that this format, these are probably in your main deck, but again, if they're not in your main deck, they should be in your side deck. I don't want to spend too much time on them just because they seem to be the most standard cards right now in the game. Just make sure they're somewhere in your main deck or side deck if your deck can account for them, and most decks in Yu-Gi-Oh should be able to. I feel there's no reason not to have access to all these cards at any point in the game, whether, like I said, it's during game 1 or games 2 and game 3. Now we're getting into the meat and potatoes of stuff, the rest of the hand traps. Again, this could be main deck worthy, but a lot of decks are siding this. What can I say? This just breaks every board. Just breaks every board. Again, should probably be in your main deck. If not in your main deck, it should definitely be in your side deck. Do not disregard Nibiru at all. You need this card, this format. There's just no way around it, and there's no reason not to have it. There are so many printings of it that you definitely should have this card in your arsenal, just for board clearing and just a very strong hand trap. Cards I think that have become side deck staples: Artifact Lancia, you already know, takes care of Dinosaur, takes care of any deck that needs to banish. Very good against Invoke Dogmatica, good against a lot of those decks. Also very good against Virtual World to stop the banishing of the spells and traps, as well as Nyan Nyan and stuff like that. I feel it's just a staple. It's a card I include in all my side decks that I post over on Patreon. You guys already know it's one of my favorite cards to side deck. It's just something I feel that every deck should have access to. Now, some of these are really deck dependent. A card like No Material, I didn't want to omit this card from this video because a lot of times I do. However, I felt that because we've started it to see its rise in popularity. You can stop a lot of decks if you know when to drop this card at the proper time to just lock them out of furthering their plays. It's not a card every player will side deck. Remember, you do only get 15 cards, and to me, like when cards like Lancia and Nibiru exist, since you can't really main deck Lancia, you have to side deck it, and you side deck 2 to 3 copies, usually 3. You're only really messing with 12 cards plus the staple cards I mentioned at the beginning of the video. So one thing I'll say is that you really need to pick your space properly. If your deck can support this, and if this card really is a blowout, which a lot of times it is against like Virtual World and other decks like that, again, if you know when to drop it, then the card should definitely be somewhere in your side deck. But for more generic stuff, like for specific matchups, I have Token Collector. This is solely for Noble Knight. It can come up in other matches where there are tokens. However, I feel this is like literally just like the be-all end-all card against that deck. Like literally you drop this. Like this card is insane. The fact that it didn't come from the graveyard too is crazy. So I had to talk about it. This is a card that I would personally side deck right now because Noble is so scary. The deck can literally FTK you. If you guys watch Pack's channel, if you watch all the Noble players, they really can't just FTK you. Like literally when they draw the 2 warriors, if they draw the dolphin, they draw the Neos into the Dolphin, like it's just crazy. So just make sure you have this card somewhere in your side deck because you have to have a card solely for Noble, and that's one of the best cards against them. And then just more generic stuff. I've got Crows, I've got Skullmeisters, I've got Drolls, I've got Veilers, and I've got Ogres. I've got it all here for you guys. What can I say? These are just generic cards. Whether you side deck them or main deck them is completely up to you. Ogre, you have to be skillful with this card. I will admit this is a card that you have to use at the proper time. If you know the cards to catch, like catching Romulus and stuff like that in the Dragon Link deck, catching certain combos in the Noble deck, a lot of stuff like that, then you can play this card. There's also some budget options for people who don't have access to some of these other cards I've mentioned. These are just good cards to have. Like obviously Veiler is very generic. If you don't have infinite impermanences, this is your next best thing. You could also put Moonlight Chill. I just don't play that card at all. Veiler to me was just more generic since you can use multiple plus it can be during your opponent's turn, stuff like that. I like this also because it's a light attribute. It comes up in certain matches. Like I said, Ogre is just an alternative for anyone who isn't able to afford some of the more expensive hand traps, but this card is very good. It is like another Gamma in certain instances because it does get the problem off the board, and while it won't negate the effect, sometimes by getting it off the board their full effect does not resolve, so that's very important to remember. Droll, I know I hyped this card a lot. Format dependent, very format dependent, but again, something you guys should look at if a lot of decks are adding, searching, drawing, stuff like that. Droll can be very good. Whenever it's a Droll and Lockbird format, you don't want to be caught without this card. Skullmeister, I'll talk about last. Crow, the homie DD Crow, you guys already know. Very good option against decks like Dinosaur, decks that rely on their graveyard. This was amazing against Salad back in the day. Amazing against any of the decks like Orcus and decks that need to get their stuff into the graveyard. Just crowing it and getting it out of here. What I like about Crow is you can use multiple because it's an old school hand trap, and another thing, it's not just monsters, you can hit anything in the graveyard, so this card does come up a lot, so definitely don't sleep on this card as another just good budget option. And then Skullmeister, another amazing card, very good against Dino, very good in the sense that it does hit anything in the graveyard, and I think that's very important. The graveyard is basically the second way to play, like it's your second hand, so having access to this card I think is extremely important. By having all of these different hand traps at your disposal, you just pick which ones you want to main deck, which ones you want to side deck, and you're good to go. So that's the hand trap portion. I just wanted to run through it quick just because, like I said, we got a lot to cover. But next we're going to go into what are the board breaking cards. Now obviously Prankatops is one of those cards, but it goes in the Holy Trinity as I call it, so that's a separate section. But for the rest, we have of course the newest card, Alpha. Now I'm going to be honest with you guys, I only have this in here for all the Zodiac players and all the Tri-Brigade Zodiac players. This card is fine. I've talked about this card. I think the card is very good. I think it's a card you guys should have got. However, it doesn't get as much mileage as Prankatops. It's not as generic. A lot of times if you want to get mileage off of it, you have to have Beast Warrior and stuff like that, where Zoo shines with this because that's their type. Like literally you get a bunch of mileage out of this card. But I think this card is very strong. It is a free 3,000 attack point monster. It can get rid of problematic cards, so it's in there. But if you don't have access to it, don't even worry about it. There are always better options, and if Hank ever comes to more than one, which we can dream, that'd be awesome. But I wanted to mention it just because it's one of the newer cards of Phantom Rage, and since the cards have been going down, pick the card up while it's cheap. If it ever comes up in a format, it'll be important to have access to it. The rest of the stuff is just a bunch of board breaking craziness. So I've got Dark Rulers, I've got Droplets, I've got Evenlies. These are like the Spell and Trap kind of board removals. So very simple. This card's expensive. This card is not.
option. I don't think it's that expensive. This is your budget option. This, if your deck can support it, this, it got a common reprint in the new, the new Charmer structure deck, so you have access to it, or if you want originals, you know, you can get those as well. These cards are just good. These are for all the combo decks that once they resolve, you know, you draw this as your 6th card. If you have it in your hand, if you don't get smoke grenaded, you literally just turn off the whole board and you just break the board. Same thing with Evenly. Evenly, very strong against the Dogmatica deck. A lot of times you don't have a trap to discard for Mechaba, so a lot of times the board is basically gone, reduced to 1 card, and you just take care of the rest. I wanted to just show you guys all the potential options you guys do have. Evenly can be doubled down as well as a back row removal card, but I look at it as a board breaking card because that's really kind of like how it was designed. These are what the board breaking cards are, and they're just very good. I wanted to give you guys all the options. Again, it comes down to what deck you are running and if you can main deck or side deck this. I know some decks main deck Dark Ruler, some decks main deck Droplets, but a lot of times you're going to side deck it, so it just depends. When you know you're going to go second and you need to crack a whole board, these are like the best options at your disposal as far as spell and trap board breaking cards go. And then the last thing for this special section is just Sphere Mode and Kaijus. Gameciel will represent Kaijus. Sphere Mode, so Sphere Mode is deck dependent. If your deck can play it, I always like giving this option because I think this card does not get enough attention these days. The boards they put up is terrifying. They're utterly terrifying. Lock you out of the extra deck, multiple negates. Sphere Mode can just rip 3 cards off the board. It's pretty crazy if your deck isn't super dependent on its normal summon. But if you're just trying to deal with single-handed things, Gameciel is very strong in that sense. Take out one of the problematic cards, turn off the Buster Lock, take out the Savage, take out whatever it is that's in your way, and you're just good to go. Kaijus are just a lot easier to use. You can also use them if you use multiple. You can use Interrupted Kaiju Slumber, so there's a lot of ways to get more mileage with Kaijus, but I want to include these because I feel it's wrong to neglect these type of cards when it comes to side deck videos. So board breaking cards, as long as you know you're ready to go second, as long as you have the right cards in your side deck, you can just break an entire board. We're almost done here, but we're getting into the back removal. This will be the shortest section. Lightning Storms, Cosmics, Twins, MSTs, I don't know, Galaxy Cyclones, Dust Tornadoes, whatever the hell you want to call it. Cards that destroy spell and trap cards. Here they are. What are they for? Back row decks. That's it. That's literally it. I'm not going to say anything else. One noted thing, being quick play, very important. Helps you get cards in the graveyard, helps you banish things, and like I said, being a quick play is important. This can also hit the front row monsters, so that's important too. Just, you know, pick your poison. Whatever your deck really gets the most benefit out of, whatever you get the most mileage with, those are your options. So I'm not going to waste your guys' time. You guys already know what all the back removal does. And then lastly, for this video, we have the going first option. So you guys know I love Mech Knight Evoked. I love pure Mech Knights. I love a lot of going second decks. It's kind of weird, I know. But, you know, you need going first options. If your deck really specializes in going second, you need to have going first options. Now, this could be for any deck. Like, a lot of times you might win game 1, you're going to go second game 2, and then game 3 you get to go first. You want to beef up your going first options. I'll show you guys some of the best stuff you can play. One of my favorite engines has always been the Sanctum and the Scythe, just because it can literally turn off your opponent's board. Like, literally, you go first, you set the Sanctum, you literally flip the Sanctum, summon the Scythe. 9 times out of 10 they can't play. Turn passes back to you, and then you just get to play and OTK them. So I like to include this anytime you're going first. When you want to say no, say it the best way possible. Solemn Judgment, pay half your life, negate pretty much anything, you're good to go. Going first, card's amazing. Zoo has really been emphasizing this card, so that's why I wanted to bring it up. More going first options when you really want to just know what your opponent's playing and you really want to take away their most problematic card. This is one of the coolest cards ever. Just the fact that you look at your opponent's hand. It does cost 2,000 life points, but the fact that you get rid of the card until the opponent's next end phase is fantastic. So you do get rid of a problem and you gain knowledge, and knowledge is everything in this game. So very important card to have if your deck can support it. It used to be one of the main side deck staples. It just kind of goes in and out of format, but just a card I think you guys should always have. This next one, very deck dependent, but I wanted to bring it up because I did see a Mech Knight deck that topped a tournament recently that did play this. Summon limit, very good against the whole meta. Most decks need more than 2 summons, so being able to lock them into 2 summons is good. Like I said, deck dependent. It really depends on what you are playing, but if you have the option to play this, definitely do it. Floodgates in general, if your deck can support them, play them because it will slow down your opponent, and once you slow the game down to your pace, you take control of the game, you're going to win. So want to include that. Lastly, I've got the Ice Dragon's Prison. This is just a card that I absolutely love. You can main deck this or side deck this. I just wanted to make sure it got included in this video because I think this card is extremely strong, and I think most people should have access to it. I know this card went up. Unfortunately, you guys should have picked it up when it first came out, but this card is very strong, very good at breaking boards, an out to Dragoon as well. And one thing that I like is you can disrupt your opponent's graveyard, take a monster, banish 2 cards. It's fantastic. So wanted to include this because I think this is a fantastic card. Whether you main deck it or side deck it, it's fantastic. And all these trap cards that are normal, play them with Trap Trick, you get multiple copies. Again, side deck dependent. Last card is Order. I've seen a lot of decks playing this. I forgot about this card, to be honest. Ever since Sky Striker kind of went down in play, I forgot about this card. But do not deny that you flip this card against your opponent, you got a ton of powerful spells that you can't activate it, you're probably in trouble. So I wanted to include this card as the last card because I felt it's really important to talk about this, because if your deck can support this going second, you know, all the better for you in the long run. But that is the video, you guys. Let me know what you guys think. Again, smash that like button. Let's get this video to 100 plus likes so I can continue this series for you. I chose to make this, I really want to make this a series because I feel like if I do top 5, top 10, what are you really getting out of that? You're getting the hot cards at the time. You're not getting a generic overall view of all the options you have at your disposal. And of course, I don't have every card in the game. I wish I did. I don't. There are probably plenty of cards that I forgot to talk about. I'm sure there are engines I forgot to talk about. Cards people are side decking. You know what? That's what the comment section is for. If I missed anything, you guys, please let me know. Please give me more options depending on what deck you're playing for this format. But I think this overall video will be a good way for you guys to kind of just see, you know, these are all my options. Let me pick from this big ass pile of cards that Slim showed off, and let me build my 15 card side deck. Like literally, look at how many cards I just showed you guys. Pick your 15 from here or anything else and you'll be good to go. But those are my thoughts. Again, smash that like button if you enjoyed the video. 100 plus likes. We're going to continue this series in every format. We will, instead of a format analysis, we will have a side deck analysis so that we can really just win our games in game 2 and game 3. Like I said, you're going to play more games sided than not. It's important that you're prepared. But that's all I got for today, you guys. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. I'll see you guys next time. Thank you for watching.